Talk a little bit about the role that faith played in his administration and in his life.
Well, when he ran in 1976 and he kept using the term born-again Christian, the majority of America, at least those outside of the Southeast, didn't really know what that meant. There were people who were very worried about it, sort of, what does that mean? Sort of, does that mean that your Christian principles are going to override your democratic principles and all sorts of problems? It's sort of like when Jack Kennedy ran in '60 as the first Catholic to win the presidency, and people were worried about that as well. He obviously never surrendered those values in any way, but he also, of course, was able to bring about the Camp David peace accords between Israel and Egypt, and that was an incredible time.
What was it like working in the White House with President Carter?
It was a wonderful opportunity, but I look at it back now and realize that if I'd not been 24, it probably would have killed me. President Carter notoriously sleeps only 4 hours a night. He's done that all his career. And he sort of expected us to do the same. And the other thing was, you don't get a lot of thanks because he's not asking you to do anything he's not doing as well. But he seemed to know, sort of on those few occasions when you were sort of needed it, and you'd get this big smile and a big thank you and maybe a pat on the back, but you knew that meant going right back to work as well. He worked 6 days a week, in fact 7 if you count after church. He would go to church Sunday morning, then have lunch, and then he would bowl with Amy and then go right back to work as well. So he technically worked 7 days a week.
Any other stories of Carter and his legacy that you remember that you'd like to share?
The only one that I sort of tell with a little bit of sheepishness was that when Miss Lillian was visiting, and she was a wonderful woman, I enjoyed working with her, but she had gotten phlebitis and she was in bed. She was told to stay in bed upstairs. She was in the Queen's bedroom. And she loved to watch her soap operas in the afternoon, but one afternoon she called me as soon as they were over and she said, "I'm bored, come up here to see me." And I had residence clearance, so I got in the elevator, went up, sat down in a chair to talk to her, and my back was to the door. But just before I'd come up, she had said, "And bring me my bourbon." And so actually I did, and in a bag, and so it was sitting on the side, on the nightstand, and suddenly I heard this voice behind me. And it was the president coming in, and I turned and looked at him. He looked at me, he looked at the brown bag, and I thought, oh my gosh. So I excused myself and left, wondered for the next couple of hours if I was going to get a call saying, "You can go home now, you're